So let's talk about Sepsis. It's the second full-length Axioma album, and as we're having this conversation, it will be released at the end of the week through Translation Lost Records. Cyril, you mentioned that some of the riffs on this album are actually quite old, and you mentioned that you guys have been playing instrumental versions of these songs for a while. But in terms of actually sitting down and arranging the songs on the album, when did you guys start to do that?
Well, there's always, as an album comes out, there's always at least a song or two that we're already working on for the following one. So we had a couple of songs like Aaron mentioned that we played live. I don't remember which ones.
Maybe Dark Ages, New Dark Age, possibly.
2 or 3 that we played live with our vocals, and so there's always new songs as one album is out. But as far as old ideas, it's only the one song, the Tower, that riff is older, and it was just the time to play it now on this album. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Now, going into this album, I mean, you guys have described your creative process as being quite intuitive and not really that calculated. But were there any plans going into this album to do things differently than your previous album?
I don't think so.
No, I think we pretty much did it exactly. The only thing we did different that I can recall is we had in our practice room, we had recording set up where we basically just did demos of the songs and gave them to Dave, the engineer, before we went in the studio.
Almost like pre-production almost.
Yeah, it was all pre-production. So we had that to give to him. He was already familiar with things. And at that point, we knew exactly what we were trying to get out of this record. And he actually commented, he was like, wow, you basically, I think what he said is you have your shit in a pile more than you did from the previous record. Right. Yeah. And we were pretty prepared then as well.
I think that,
but that's the only thing different, I think.
Yeah, and to me, the one thing that's different are the songs, the riffs. I mean, you always want to try to do something that you just like to play and that's new. So that's what's different. There are new songs. There's no direction on doing this or that, heavy, this, and it's just playing new riffs and making new songs. Pretty much.
Yeah, I'd say this was probably the smoothest that last album that we've recorded in a way, as far as time and just having everything down with the pre-production, at least to me.
Yeah, recording in the practice space here and having the songs ready for the studio. Yeah.
And another different aspect was vocally. Because the studio that we tracked in was literally like a half a mile from my house, I would do the vocals like 1 or 2 songs at a time, and then, come back next week and do another 1 or 2 songs. So I would do a song, and then I would have the week prior to kind of reflect and see what I would want to do, and then I would go in the studio and work it out. So it was a lot more time getting the vocals done, which I enjoyed doing that. Maybe a little more focused, I guess.
Separate from the actual writing of the album, now that the album is complete and you can listen to it in its entirety, how do you compare it to the previous album or anything that you've done previously?
I think it's probably a bit more complex as far as a lot more. I mean, it's definitely, you can see from Opia to Crown to this, you can definitely transition for sure. It's a bit more complex. You could possibly even say it's more dynamic than anything we've ever done.
Yeah. More dynamic, more complex. And I would even say those songs are a little bit more, I believe, heavier even than previous maybe songs. Not that they were not heavy, but as far as riffs, I think some of the stuff is getting more complex and heavier at the same time. Yeah.
I think with Sepsis, we compared to Crown 2, I think we locked in on some of the type of sounds that we do well with blasting or doom parts or slower parts. I think this album is a little bit more of it covers the entirety of what type of things we're trying to do. Whereas Crown, some of those pieces, and sort of has that, all of the different parts that we like to play.
Would you say that this album has more of a flow to it?
I don't know if I could say that really. I think the songwriting is still strong, but we still have abrupt changes and things. I mean, it's by no means, none of it's ever been, 4/4 or anything like that.
Definitely not. No,
So,
I don't think so.
I mean, it's always sort of strange. The writing is, timing wise, is going to be different.
Yet flowing in a way.
Yeah, I think that's one reason why we decided not to put, like, say, soundscapes and things in, because we thought everything flowed pretty well with these songs, and then it ended up being right at the time frame to where we would have a decent sounding vinyl, so we would it just worked out. So as if it's, I don't know if it's any better or worse than any of the other things we've done as far as the flow. I like to think that they always flow pretty well the way we present it all.
And I don't know if we mentioned it, but like when this was recorded, I don't know what year it started, maybe 2018 or 19, prior to the COVID pandemic and everything. So we would come up to the room. We had a lot more time playing these songs, I feel, than we did ever in the past, because there just wasn't shows. There wasn't other things to occupy us. So we were sort of focused on just the songs.
So let's talk about the recording of the album. Where did you guys end up going?
We went with Dave Johnson, who he did the previous record, Crown. He has a studio at his house. Well, he did have a studio at his house. He has since moved about 40, 50 miles away, but we recorded it in his house. He's previously recorded Midnight, Fistula, numerous other projects that I forget, but
Some incantation in the past, possibly.
yeah, I don't know if he might have done some incant, maybe not records, but some demo. I'm not sure. I'm not real sure. But we went there, tracked, and we all basically he mixed and mastered it. We were very instrumental in the mixing process as well. But yeah, we worked with him on Crown, or we had results, so we just went back with him again, and we're extremely happy with those results. And as you said earlier, it's Big Metal, Dave Big Metal Johnson. So that's, people might know him as that.
And I think the studio is called Bad Back.
Oh yes,
I
Bad Back
believe.
Studio,
Yeah,
Bad Back Studios. Yep. I'm sorry, I forgot to state that. But
Metal
I
Dave.
do believe he's eventually, Bad Back Studios will be relocated to Akron, Ohio. I just heard someone telling me that he's got a new space that he's built, and then they just have to move all the equipment and stuff. So hopefully he'll be back up and running in a couple months.
And am I correct in saying that Big Metal Dave also worked on Opia on the first EP?
I think Dave may have mixed
Dave
it.
did,
Right?
yeah. So
Yes, he
for,
did.
For
I forgot
Opia,
about that.
I went to a friend's house that I previously recorded there in 2003 or 4. And I just went
At
to
Vince's, right?
Vince.
This is
Yeah, Vince. It's a friend of mine. I just wanted to record the ideas, so that's why I went there. Then we all ended up finishing the record there, but then we did take it to Metal Dave
Yeah, I forgot about
mix it and master. But that's why it has a different sound, because it was recorded just at someone's basement with just basic recording things. So
Why is this partnership with Big Metal Dave work so well? What is it about him or his studio that works for Axioma?
I feel that he understands exactly what we're doing. He literally understands it. I mean, we've known him for 20 years, maybe more. You know, he played in and still plays in some amazing bands around Cleveland. He was in Ascension, Soulless, currently does Death Crawl and numerous other projects. He gets exactly what we're doing, and therefore, he knows how to get those sounds.
Yeah, I always feel like there's minimal conversations with Dave. Like he hears a song and then he has ideas immediately.
Yeah,
it's almost like he's just ready for whatever we are writing.
We don't even have to explain to him how that sound, because he knows just because he's seen us live numerous times as well. He's seen all of our other bands and projects that we're involved with, and somehow we're just on the same page.
And as far as the mixing and mastering, what would you say Dave brings to your sound?
Oh, like once again, he knows what we're going for. And the fact that he's there from the beginning, when we hand him the demos, and then he's there from the beginning. He's tracking and then he's mixing, and I think that's a lot of bands I think lose some things when they take their music to different people to do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that by any means, but for whatever reason, it just works for us, like having him in that process.
Yeah, I think that he captures almost like when we play live. He gets the way he mixes us. I think it's pretty much like we sound live. I believe it's not too, I don't know what processed, or it's not it's not like overdone. It's just raw but clear.
I'd also add, with this band, I've never had a conversation with Dave that he's trying to make us sound like a certain thing. Right. He takes the song that we have and makes that song as best as possible. Like we're not trying to replicate something with him, which it almost goes without question with that type of engineer.
Yeah, I actually had to basically just keep twisting his arm to add vocal effects on some things, because he doesn't, he likes that dry sound, that organic sound that we have, and he likes to keep it that way.
Are you guys very hands-on in terms of the mixing and mastering process?
With the mixing, yeah. We don't sit behind him. He basically, he comes up with a mix. He sends it to us, and we all
have notes,
make our notes, and I think usually within like 3 or 4 passes, it's pretty spot on. As far as mastering, we let him do his thing with that.